This is Super Yacht News with E. Sisman. In association with Go Earth, navigating boat buyers to better deals.
Hi, welcome back to the channel. So the crew of the US flagged oil tanker struck by the container ship in the North Sea have been praised for triggering a crucial firefighting system before the abandoning of the vessel. The tanker was carrying 220,000 barrels of aviation fuel in 16 segregated tanks, but the maritime company that operates the tanker said that only one of the tanks was damaged, thanks to the actions of the crew. Vice President of the firm Crowley, Cal Hayden, said that before being forced to abandon ship, the crew had the dedication and presence of mind to ensure fire monitors were active in order to provide boundary cooling water to the adjacent cargo tanks. Crowley said that the remaining cargo and bunkers are secure and the salvage operation is ongoing. Now, the Marine Accident Investigation Branch, or the MAIB, has released a statement with regards to the incident in the North Sea last week. In the statement, they described who will head the investigation and who else will be involved in it. We brushed upon this in the previous video. The MAIB said that the Marine Accident Investigation Branch was notified of the collision in the North Sea, 14 nautical miles northeast of Spurn Head, at the entrance to the River Humber. The MAIB immediately deployed a team of inspectors to Grimsby to begin a preliminary assessment. MAIB has since been joined by representatives from the US National Transportation Safety Board, the US Coast Guard, and the Marine Safety Investigation Authority Portugal. Having consulted with those flag state authorities, agreement has been made that the Marine Accident Investigation Branch will lead the safety investigation, with Portugal and the United States acting as a substantially interested states. Once it's safe to do so, the MAIB will conduct a detailed inspection of both vessels and manage the retrieval of the voyage data recorders, or VDRs, from both vessels. From the initial inquiries made, it's known that Solong frequently travelled between Grangemouth and Rotterdam and regularly used the route it took on the day of the collision. As well as continuing to gather witness accounts, further investigation work will look to establish the navigational practices on board both vessels, the manning and fatigue management, the condition and maintenance of the vessels involved, and the environmental conditions at the time. Now, this is one of the things that we've not spoken about, is that fatigue and how people work long shifts on vessels. One of the things I've brushed upon in a couple of videos now is about the watch system on the bridge, how in the best case scenario you have 3 watchkeepers, and in some cases on vessels that have smaller crews, such as this Solong only had 14 crew, it's possible they may have only had 2 watchkeepers, which means they'll be doing one 6-hour shift each twice a day. So every 6 hours they're on watch, right? However, that's not the only work that's done. So during the day, if you have a 2-watch shift, you'll have a captain and a chief officer, right? Now, during the day, they're working to unload the vessel, and to load the vessel, and to do all the other things that have to be done on a ship when it's in port. Contrary to popular belief, when the vessel's in port, there's still lots of work going on, especially on a ship that's moving cargo around. They've got to offload containers, unload, all of that, and then they have to go on watch. So fatigue could be a big part of what happened here. I want to answer the most frequently asked questions. One of them says that a Russian captain on a Portuguese cargo ship, and that's not suspicious to anyone. Well, no, it's not suspicious to anyone, because that is very normal. Vessels have flags of convenience. The nationality of the flag means nothing about who's working on board. Many of the yachts that we talk about usually on this channel are all registered in the British Virgin Islands or the Cayman Islands or Malta or the Marshall Islands, but nobody on there is from the Marshall Islands. Not a single crew member, I would bet. There's probably 0.01% of Marshall Islands crewing vessels with Marshall Islands flags. So that's not suspicious whatsoever. That's just your lack of knowledge of the industry, which is understandable. When you look at it from a layman, you could easily think that if it's got a British flag, it's got a British crew. Now, another comment, nothing normal about this accident when everyone has radar and radios on a calm sea. Well, it was very foggy. And also, just because we have technology, it does not mean it's easy. It takes, to get an officer of the watch unlimited, which is what they would need for these vessels, you need to study and you need to do a cadetship for 4 years. That's just to qualify to become a third officer. And then you need probably about 5 years before you can get promoted of experience. So if it was as easy as people say, well, why does this happen when they've got radar and AIS? If it was that easy, you wouldn't need to go to sea for 4 years to learn how to be, to get an officer of the watch. So, it's not as easy as it seems. All modern cars have lots of safety things, but there are still thousands of crashes every day. So, everybody's done a driving test and everything. So it's far more complex to steer a ship than it is to drive a car. Now, the most frequently asked questions, they're actually opposites of each other. One is, why would the tanker be anchored in a shipping lane? And the other question is, why would the ship sail through an anchorage? So it's funny, they always say there's two sides to every story, and there's two frequently asked questions. I spoke to a former captain of mine again, so I wanted to get this to make sure I don't make any mistakes here. He's confirmed a lot of the things I already thought I knew, but I just wanted to make sure because I'm not an officer of the watch. I'm not a rock dodger. So he said there are no shipping lanes in the rules. That expression can generally mean areas where ships transit together. So there aren't any defined shipping lanes. The closest thing to a shipping lane are traffic separation schemes. There are traffic separation schemes near to where this incident happened. You have them in lots of places. You've got them through the Straits of Gibraltar, for instance. Now, reference the TSS, the traffic separation scheme. One of the Rule 10F says a vessel shall, so far as practicable, avoid anchoring in a traffic separation scheme or in areas near its termination. So even in a traffic separation scheme, you are technically allowed to anchor, but they're saying if you can avoid it, you should. The vessel was not anchored in a TSS or close to its termination point. Because the North Sea is shallow, it gives you anchoring options further off the coast where it would be usually very deep. It does seem unusual for the US flagship to be anchored outside of a designated anchorage when there are lots of ships transiting the area. It might be the case that lots of ships anchor outside of the designated anchorage. I suspect the American ship chose that location for security reasons. Now, sometimes you'll see references to traffic lanes in the rules, but they're referring to the lanes in a traffic separation scheme. Now, as far as this being an anchorage, it's not on navigational charts where the Stena Immaculate was anchored. We've looked on a number of the charts just to make sure, and other vessels were anchored in that area, so it is definitely used by vessels as an anchorage, but it's not marked on any charts as an official anchorage. Now, in the Coast Guard call for assistance for ships with firefighting abilities to go to the aid of the vessels after the crash, they referred to the area as the outer anchorage.
Solong has collided with tanker Stena Immaculate in the outer anchorage.
However, if we look on navigational charts, or on this navigational chart, you'll see that there are 3 or so anchorages marked on the chart. 2 of them are inner, and 1 of them is outer. Where the Stena Immaculate is now, which is not that far from where the crash happened, you can see that it's not marked as an anchorage. And remember the rule, a vessel shall, so far as practicable, avoid anchoring in a traffic separation scheme or in areas near its separation. So even, like I said, even in that traffic separation scheme, it's not saying you're not permitted to anchor there. They're asking to not do it if possible. Yeah, so hopefully that will clear up some of the misunderstandings from those people asking those questions. I will bring you more information on that story when we have it. Now, we're going to move on now to our second story. A British tourist is missing in Thailand after a tour boat she was on for a diving excursion caught fire off the island of Koh Tao. I think that's how you pronounce it. Alexandra Clark, a 26-year-old from South London, was on board a dive boat when the very inappropriately named Davy Jones's Locker, that was the name of the boat, unbelievably. Anyway, there were 21 other people on board. 15 of those were tourists, 2 crew, and there were 4 members of a diver instruction team. Now, Ms. Clark said it was said to have been in the bathroom when the fire started, which was a few minutes before the distress call was sent out at 9:25 a.m. local time. The fire was so intense that other vessels in the area that came to assist couldn't get anywhere near the boat to try to search for the missing woman. You can see some footage here which was posted on Facebook of the boat on fire. The fire spread so quickly, everyone else ended up in the water and were later rescued by other vessels that came to assist, pulled out of the water. And it wasn't until they did some sort of roll call that they discovered that the woman was missing. A group of volunteers went to fight the fire, but the boat eventually sank. The vessel was approximately 5 or 6 nautical miles away from the island when the fire started in the engine room. The Davy Jones Locker, the boat, was reportedly taking tourists to a dive site southwest Pinnacle nearby to Champion Archipelago. We'll bring you more on that if we get more updates. All right, guys, we'll leave it there. Be sure to check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/eSysman. We post loads of videos on there, and also we're going to be traveling soon, and we post a lot of vlogs when we travel as well. So be sure to sign up, patreon.com/eSysman. Also, there's more. We do more videos on the stories that are happening during the week, but we have a more informal version, and there's usually more information because they're usually longer than these videos. So be sure to check that out. Also, if you've got any information for us, send it to us in the email address in the ticker. We prefer emails. If you want to be anonymous, you can use Signal, and you can use Threema as well. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to like this video. Very important for the algorithm. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell for future notifications, and I'll catch up with you soon. Bye-bye.